All right, so I've shown you guys how I train my quads and how Robin does as well, which is basically exactly the same, and that's what I really recommend for everybody. I feel super confident saying that you will get really good developed quads doing that without any kind of joint pain if you do it right. Now I want to cover some people that don't do it exactly what I would say is right. These are people that I've covered before in different videos, so I'll just go through it pretty quick. First up, we're going to go over Kuba Cielen, and when we look at him, his legs are definitely not a weak point. They're pretty good. You know, I criticized him for his chest, which is horrible. It's non-existent, but his legs are solid. But he does have knee pain, in which is going to be a common theme you're going to see. So when I critiqued him before, I looked at this video, and this is the same Cybex squat press that I was using earlier, but it looks a little bit different, right? So he's got a lot wider stance, and as he's going down, he's really letting these knees and femurs externally rotate out, like right here. They're coming around his pelvis, around his belly. So he's not really driving tension anteriorly and medially, like I was talking about earlier when you drive internal rotation. He's letting it go laterally and posteriorly. So he's getting some glutes, he's getting some like adductors, but not as much quads as he could. But like I said, he's got decent quads, and it's not like impossible to build good legs by using like suboptimal technique in my opinion. But you're not going to build the best legs possible, and you're definitely going to end up with some kind of issues, whether it's your hip, knee, back, something. Not terrible. He does have his pelvis rolling under him a little bit. That's why he's moving. As you look at this, look, he kind of rolls under, he rounds, and as he pushes, he comes back up. I have noticed that he started to have people hold him down from the shoulders. I don't know if that has anything to do with my video. He saw me critiquing him, maybe. I know he saw it. He talked shit on me. He didn't like it. And here he is doing a leg extension. And as I said, I don't think leg extensions are the be-all, end-all when it comes to size, but he's doing it without any of that counterforce that I was talking about, that Eric was talking about. So he's leaving some gains on the table there as well. Now here we have him on a hack squat, and he's kind of doing what Robin was saying, actually. If you really look at his feet, they will tell you the story. So look what's happening. As he's going down, he's starting to lose his heels, and he's actually losing relative motion. He's not like getting actual pronation. And as he pushes up, he loosens his heels even more, and then he rotates out to the outer part really hard. So he's going too deep, getting back involved, losing tension on the quads, and just kind of shitty mechanics in general on this hack squat in particular. So I can see why he's dealt with knee pain. It's not really surprising to me. It could be way better. This needs to be more internal rotation biased. And the biggest thing is the feet. You can just see he's not able to drive internal rotation through that whole system, through that axial internal rotation spiral that I was talking about earlier. You want to see a little turn in right away from that femur. So he's not getting crazy external rotation, but he's getting more than he should, and he's fighting it a lot. That's why the knees are going so far forward. But if he just focused on actually feeling the foot like move through that early propulsion to mid propulsion, he would get way more tension on his quads. He'd have to drop the weight down a lot, but his knees wouldn't hurt, I promise. Next up, we're going to look at Nick Walker, who has actually brought up his legs a little bit over the last year. I definitely would think so. They're still like by far his weakest part and really ugly and imbalanced, and a lot of it has to do with the way that he trains them. We can see that he's got a clear case of overdeveloped left vastus lateralis and right adductor, and just not the best quads in general. I mean, not very aesthetic at all. And you can look at this, you can just see he's got crazy adductors though. I mean, really, that is the vast majority of what's making up the meat of his legs, especially this right leg. So this is a pretty recent video that Nick put up, and I was watching this. I noticed he did change things up a little bit. He still does this awful like flared out duck foot position, which he has stated that is the only way he can do any kind of leg press or squat pattern at all without having knee pain, which tells you something right there. But he's not quite as wide as he normally has been in the past. So it's a little different setup. And when you watch him, he is keeping better tension on the quads from my perspective than I've seen before. He's not laterally rotating as much. He's doing it through a shit ton of compensatory IR. Like, this is terrible, the way his tibia is so externally rotated and his femur's kind of going in. Like, at some point, he's not going to be able to get away doing this shit. He's going to be fucked. But, I mean, that is horrible. You do not want your knee and your tibia foot, like, facing completely opposite directions. But he is doing it in a way that is allowing him to drive that force to his quads better through that compensatory internal rotation than I've seen in the past. So he's able to feel what's going on, but I really think he would benefit from being able to do this without that foot position. He would get much better quads and have much better movement options available. But I think this is why his quads actually look a little bit better now, is because he has come at least more narrow with this kind of weird foot position. And he's not driving as much external rotation as he was going before. Here we see him on the Atlantis hack, and I mean, he's just opening up his legs like he's having a baby. He's doing the RP abso. He's doing the Dr. Mike style, which is a fucking terrible idea. Like, who the fuck wants to look like that, dude? But this one, he's definitely a lot more ER'd than on the leg press. And maybe he's trying to do that on purpose, but I think on a hack squat, usually you want to get quads, and you can kind of see it's not as bad on this one because he is externally rotating, but his knee is still not really lined up with his tibia all that good. And you can see, like, he does, like, weird foot placements. So this one, he's a lot wider. Like, that's a horrible angle right there. Now that is a lot of shearing force on this medial part of the knee. Like, that is not going to be good long term. And, like, look at where he has his feet on the actual platform. He has them like in totally different positions because his pelvis is in totally separate positions. So we see his left leg all the way to the edge of the platform, down a little bit lower, right one up higher, much more space on that side of the platform. And so that kind of shows you how funky things are. And this is how he's got to like press in a way that he feels even because he's so crooked. So, I mean, that is not a good setup. I wouldn't recommend that at all. I mean, especially like Nick doesn't need any more adductors and posterior chain. Dude just needs quads. Like, I would do everything with a quad focus. I wouldn't do this sumo hack squat, Dr. Mike style, at all. And like, people will look at him work out so controlled and use such a big range of motion and think, wow, that's great form. Or I'm looking at what's happening at the joints. I'm like, fucking poor joints, poor dude. This is not going to end well. Someone else I covered who I critiqued their leg training is Coach Mundy, who it's like impossible to find any leg pictures of him. This is the only one. I know it's like a couple years old, but I don't think they've gotten any better. But dude's a freaking beast everywhere but his legs. His legs are the size of his arms, and he deals with a lot of knee pain, just like Nick, just like Kuba. So this isn't the best angle ever to see what's going on. Whenever Mundy's doing this hack squat, he immediately posteriorly compresses and flares out, and that's going to take tension off your quads like right away. So it's hard to tell, but you can tell by the way the knees start to flare out right here. Like right there is all the range of motion homeboy's got. As he gets deep, we start to see the pelvis pull under, and we see the knees actually shift back, which that is not something that you want to have happen. So let's look at get to the bottom. You only want to see those knees translate forward. We want to keep it in that mid-propulsion phase. We want to keep it internal rotation bias to get the most out of the quads. If those knees start to translate back on a hack or a squat pattern, now we've taken tension off the quads, which maybe that's what you want to do for certain things. Like if I'm doing an ass to the ground squat and with a zercher, yeah, maybe I want some of the tension to come off the quads. It's going to happen if I'm going that deep. But if you got this much weight on your back, you want to stay in internal rotation bias and drive more tension on the quads. So knees still going forward, and there it goes, translating back. So that's what you don't want to see. Let's check out one more time, forward, and back. You should never see that. That means that you're losing tension and it's going somewhere else to your back or something else. And we're rolled under. I mean, the bottom of his butt's even coming off. Not surprising that Mundy deals with knee pain and has horrible quads. Yeah, and as he bottoms out, you can really see these just flare out. And they kind of stay out as he presses. So, again, he's shifting everything to that lateral and posterior musculature that I was talking about. I mean, he's even doing what Robin was saying, too. His butt's kind of coming off, too. So we'll look at what Mundy considers an effective leg day. And I think he's totally wrong here about calf raises. I think seated calf raises are awesome. Check out the video that Faz Lifts put out about it if you haven't seen it. It's great. I think that will in itself just disprove that statement right there. And here we have Mundy talking about how leg extensions are the best for hypertrophy. They're the best option for overall quads. If you want to mix in shitty squat press patterns, feel free. For practical reasons, they're great. They're not great to have for practical reasons when you do it in a way that fucks your body up. But hypertrophy-wise won't matter for a majority of people. Squat patterns won't matter for the majority of people. So we're going to listen to this guy tell us what works for quad hypertrophy. What do you say, Tom Platz?
Don't forget about leg extension. Nobody gets big legs from leg extension.
So should we listen to Mundy or Tom Platz? I'm going to go with Tom Platz. And we're going to dive in pretty deep into his training in the end. But before we do that, I also wanted to keep it kind of with the modern era and go over a couple of guys who I wasn't really familiar with the training, but I thought they just had crazy good quads. So I was curious about what they did. So the first person that I wanted to check out was Sas Herati. And I know that he doesn't squat. I heard him say that. And he just has some of the most beautiful, like symmetrical, detailed quads there are. I mean, look at this. That is ridiculous. That is gnarly striations, great sweep. I mean, you can't say anything bad about the quads. So I was curious how he trained, knowing that he didn't do any squats. And then I found out that he also deals with knee pain. So far, every single person I've covered, besides Robin and myself, deal with knee pain. So here we go. Another guy using the Cybex squat press is a very popular machine. And he's doing it different than the way Kuba was. He's got a more narrow foot position. He's not flaring out the knees and hips as much. But you can see he really lets that pelvis come under him as he gets to like maximum depth. Like that is a lot of butt roll coming under, and still a really big range of motion. He is keeping a little more tension on the quads by not flaring out, but he's moving even more than Kuba was. Now, I do believe that this Cybex squat press allows you to roll under and push away in a way that is less damaging and takes away less tension than a normal leg press that's like on a sled. I think the mechanics of that get more of your back when you're pushing up a sled versus when you're pushing it out on this kind of lever press like this. Just my own beliefs, and I think that makes sense. I played around with it. I felt actual pretty good quads. I felt a little bit of back, but nothing what I would feel like if I was letting my back round on a leg press. So I don't think this is what I would recommend, but he's got great quads, but he does got knee pain. Now, if we watch him do a hack squat, I mean, we can see that he's got a really like positive shin angle. He's really putting like pretty good tension on the quads from here. But I would say he probably drops a little bit too deep and loses a little bit of the foot context at the bottom. You never want to see those heels come up. You see how his feet are kind of moving around. And you can also see that he does get that same translation of the knee backwards as he's doing this. You didn't see that at all with Robin, and you didn't see that with me, even though you couldn't see it from the angle, but I didn't do that. But let's watch. So that's forward, forward, still forward. I mean, that's a great range. If he stopped there, that'd be money. And then now we've translated back and lost tension on the quad. So don't want to see that. Let's check it out one more time. Forward, and back. So when you do that, you've lost it. So really think about the foot context. That's the key. You think a tiny little bit about the internal rotation from the femur, but the foot context are what's going to drive what we're looking for. And here he is on like a hip press, and he's got a lot of hip hiking up. This isn't particularly like phenomenal. He just naturally keeps tension on the quads because of his structure. So it's like, I didn't really think his training was that great at all. So I looked at it, I was like, oh, he's got great genetics and he's able to keep good tension with the things that he does, but he does have knee pain because he trains in a way that I would be very surprised if he didn't have knee pain. Another guy who has super impressive quads, another UK guy, is James Hollingshead, the Shed. Here he is with the Tsunami Pro that he won, where he was full blown, and these quads are just nutty looking. And he also has been dealing with a lot of knee pain lately, and his quads have come down a little bit, especially the one that's injured. You can see a little more asymmetry than you could here. And most people that know James know that he trains like a fucking monster, and for the amount of weight that he moves, he usually uses pretty good form. So let's look at him free bar squat. You can see that right off the bat, he's got knee sleeves on. I've also seen him double belt before he was doing so much weight. So let's look at his technique. I think this was 660 pounds. He did for like 10. I mean, that is pretty good. That is not bad at all. You're not going to really be able to drive this like exclusively to quads at all. It's just so much weight. You're going to get a little bit of posterior compression, but he's not getting much. I mean, this is pretty quad dominant. His first 2 reps are pretty smooth. His foot contacts look good, but now as he's pushing past his 4th rep, now he's already starting to dip down. He lost a little like some kind of stability. I don't know if he was losing internal rotation on that left side. I can't quite tell, but now he's going to start to get a little funky after that. See how he kind of shifts and gets like more anterior compression on the front of his left side? And now he's starting to round a little bit. He's pushing past where he should now. And I get it. He's a fucking monster. He's got a lot of weight. But all these reps, I would have stopped a few reps ago. And so now he's starting to get really posteriorly tilted at the bottom, putting tension on his back. His boys are coming over, getting ready to help him because I think they can see he's starting to look bad. I mean, he's really getting over himself. So they're over like, okay, that's it. We'll put it up. He's like, no, I'm going to keep going. And they just got sloppier. He should have stopped there when his boys were ready to get him. He should have stopped 3 reps earlier. Now here is a Smith machine squat, and this is pretty awesome. This is hard to fault. His pelvis is under his rib cage. It looks like he's got foot contacts pretty good. Now as he's going, he's starting to lose a little bit of counter force by, like, I can tell he's not applying pressure into the ground as he's lowering himself as much. He's kind of just dropping now. And if he did that, it'd be a little heavier. It'd be a little slower on the way down, and he would have a little less of that forward translation right at the very bottom. Like that little bit is just kind of slack. I'm on the leg press. Let's see, I haven't looked at this. I mean, that's pretty good looking, pretty IR biased, and he's not going crazy deep to where he's rounding under. This is really good. This is the best leg press I've seen so far compared to Kuba and Sauce, besides Robin. But I mean, I can't complain about this at all. This is just as good as Robin's. This looks money. Here we've got some more Smith squats. And what do we got here? Just a little too big a range of motion. He looks pretty tight right now. He can't really like open this pelvic outlet as he's getting deep. Also, it's rounding under him. It needs some posterior expansion. This is how you get knee pain. It's not always like you did something wonky at the knee. Sometimes it's just you're putting your pelvis in your back in weird spots. Some heavy ramped Smith squats. Love these Smith squats. Same thing, just a little too deep, like not even that much. These are so close to being like perfect for this amount of weight. But I would stop right there. Yeah, even there. But now we've rounded under, so just too far. So James has great technique. He just pushes it just a little too far. He's just a little too fucking hardcore for his own good. Just a little too badass. Why is this guy spotting him already? He looks like he's got 8 more reps in him. He's like right up on him. I think they stopped it just to like not show how many more reps he's gonna do with this guy right on top of him. And then the final person that I wanted to look at is a guy named Jonathan Withers. I think he's retired now. I don't know if you guys know him. He competed at the Texas Pro. I think that's his only pro show. But I remember him turning pro at the Nationals, and dude has the craziest quads I've ever seen. I mean, look at this. These are tumorous. These sweeps are ridiculous. Here he is as an amateur winning the overall. Now, when I was watching his videos and just try to get a view of how he trained, he talked about how he also dealt with a lot of knee pain.
At this point in your training, are you still going like ham, or are you just kind of very strategic, or you?
It just kind of depends how my back feels and my hip. If everything feels good, I'll go all out. If I gotta throw it back, I have to play it by day by day. I've always had kind of hip and knee issues. When I hurt my back last year, I was chasing strength.
He said it was because he used to just go so heavy and just push it way too hard that he's really dialed things back. So this is how he's changed that training, I'm guessing, because all this looks pretty good. You can see he kind of internal rotates to start with. He turns them in the very beginning. Just intuitively, he can tell that that's going to get him better pressure on the quads. So this is a very quad dominant leg press. This looks really good. Here we have a belt squat, which typically I do for like adductors and even glutes. But the way he's set up, he's still getting really good quads. He's just got that kind of pelvic setup where it's always going to put tension to the quads and squat patterns unless you're really, really actively trying not to. And here, this is like a shitty machine that he makes look awesome. I really don't like these V squats at all, but he just falls really good into that squat pattern. So he's just, again, he's another guy. Sauce is super narrow. That's what he gets critiqued for. James is a huge guy, but he's super narrow. His clavicle is super narrow. He's got a narrow ISA. Jonathan Withers got a narrow ISA. So all these guys have the same structure, and they're really good natural squatters. I mean, I don't know about Sass since he doesn't squat, but when he does his hack squats, naturally he's in the same position as someone who's got a narrow ISA when they squat. So whenever they do squat patterns, they're just able to bias the quads naturally a lot easier than someone else who isn't quite as narrow. So I really don't see anything wrong with a lot of what John's doing. His foot placement did look a little wonky on this one. I mean, minor, but his left foot is turned out more. A lot of times that's to produce like compensatory IR, because you can't really get the tibia IR to match with the hip IR to go with the pronation. So I do think he's got a little bit of something funky going on there that can kind of show why maybe he's been injured. But really, other than that, like his form is fine in all this, but I do believe he changed it because of the pain he experienced in his past. Every single person I covered has knee pain. Someone who never dealt with knee pain and had potentially the best quads of all time. Now, right as I was making this video, this dude turned pro, and I just want to look at him real quick because he's fucking just as nutty as Jonathan. Another dude with these tumorous fucking quads, maybe even more so than Jonathan. And when I watched him train, I see the same thing, a narrow ISA who can really squat straight up and down and put a ton of tension on the quads. So, it doesn't surprise me that when you squat like this, you're able to build some monstrous quads, especially if you put in like effort the way this guy looks like he does. Yeah, and I mean, on this, his knee doesn't really translate back like the other guys were. It just is going forward. Look at that. Yeah, not really back at all. Maybe the hair as he's getting fatigued, but not bad at all like the other guys. And like I said, dude puts in work. Here he is doing 1,000,000 pounds on a Smith. like super deep with quad bias, still not getting any kind of like a butt wing. So he's just another guy who has that ability to squat in a way that's going to naturally put tension on your quads. I don't know if he's got knee pain. He doesn't speak English. I didn't really dive deep into his stuff, but every single person I covered has knee pain. Someone who never dealt with knee pain and had potentially the best quads of all time, Mr. Tom Platz. Here he is. I think this was the 81 Olympia where he got fucked. He got third place. Franco won with his gyno, you can see right here, and with like legs that are a third of the size as Tom's. I mean, Tom was just so out of place during his era with his quads. I love this picture, this famous one of him and Lou. Lou's just like, what in the fuck am I looking at, man? So I give you what I believe to be the most important cues to build really good quads and how to make the most out of your squat patterns. Let's see what the secrets for the quad father were, because the greats always leave clues. We can always learn something if we watch them.
I never had a knee problem in my life. Perfect, pure technique. Modern day squatting, the technique has been bastardized. The technique is about a hip thrust. People using buttocks and lower back. It's a hip thrust.
So you do see a lot of that. You do see some people who now take such a wide stance and get like excellent rotated that they can stay relatively upright and not lean over as much, but that's still putting it all on their butt. They're just doing it a different way.
I believe in a quad dominant squat. I think it's easier to teach an incorrect squat than it is a correct squat. To really be a weight lifter, to learn the correct squat, it takes years. I've seen weightlifters practice their technique with broomsticks for years before even putting the weight on. What do I teach you?
And that's how we learn. Tom Platz learned how to squat at a really young age from elite weightlifters, not powerlifters. And he had the structure to do it correctly. So, I mean, he had this technique ingrained on him from the moment he grabbed a bar. That's something to keep in mind with like how he was able to squat so effectively to build his quads. He never did it any other way.
Young men and women, no weight. Forget about the weight. The technique, size, and strength will follow.
So you can see how upright he is and how much forward knee drive he gets without any sort of a butt wing. Let's listen to him go over a little bit more technique stuff. Now, before we play this, like, this is the way my eyes are just because of what I do. Like, I'm looking at him, and he is so fucking crooked. And, I mean, we're all going to be crooked. We all manage a little bit, and a lot of times you do manage asymmetry by lifting slightly asymmetrical. Your foot might be a little bit off on one side, and that isn't necessarily always a terrible thing. I mean, Tom built crazy good quads doing that. But when I look at him here, I see somebody who's got internal rotation in their right side. I mean, look at how much more dorsiflexion he has versus over here. I mean, this foot is actually maybe slightly in front of it. Look how his torso is shifted over his right side, which is not unusual. Look how much wider his hand is on the right. So it's like, these are just little things that I notice, and I notice this like with everything. Like, fucks me up with girls. Like, there can be a girl who looks like super hot, but then like I'll notice like from a certain angle, I'm like, oh, I don't like the way you've got so much anterior compression. It makes that shoulder roll forward a little bit, and I can see your neck all tense and tight. Or like, oh, like, I don't like how crooked you are. That rib is too flared. Like, one butt cheek is a little bit bigger than the other. I can't deal with that. I don't like that. Like, I don't like these postural asymmetries. They throw me off. I'm like OCD about certain things, and then certain things I don't give a fuck about. Like, I'll take a snaggletooth or a lazy eye. I kind of like that, but don't give me someone who's got like downward depression of their scapula and like too much of a slopey neck. It's actually a thing that bothers me.
I would find probably a closer stance, not too wide, not sumo style, and maybe on the heavy stuff a little bit wider, but then on the lighter stuff, when you lower the weight and do reps, bring it in just a little bit. It'd be so light, like when you go to 405 then under 300, bring the stance in slightly to accommodate this. Possible, but never really too much stance variation.
So Tom didn't use that much stance variation. That's something that's kind of interesting. He's very like specified with his training.
Always all the way down.
Yeah.
Full range of motion.
Yes, but I would say at least parallel. Not everybody has super flexibility.
Okay.
At least parallel, preferably below, if in fact you have that. Probably most people won't. Parallel is probably good.
I love that. Tom Platz, who's the king of full depth squatting, says, you probably can't do what I do. And that is totally true. If you want to keep tension on your quads, you want to fight any kind of a butt wing, any kind of a posterior tilt, most of you guys ain't getting past 90 degrees. Maybe 100, like if you've got great ankle mobility and great hips, but that's going to be it. You're not going to get as low as him, which is like 110, 120 even. You don't have his structure, and you haven't been doing it since you were 14 years old. So let's actually look at his technique a little more in depth, and you can see he really gets a lot of forward knee drive. He's kind of quick out of the bottom, almost ballistic, which that can be effective. But chest is high. I wish I could see his feet a little bit more. He turns his feet out very slightly, which seems to be really effective, but it's just not something that I've been able to really do comfortably and feel really good with. If I'm like more like straight on, I'm able to drive more attention to my sweep and to my quad. A lot of people do feel better slightly out. You could try that. You still want to drive internal rotation though. Tom was also known for being really flexible. He was doing a lot of stretching. Obviously, he used a big range of motion, which helped his mobility, but he would do these extreme stretches that most other people ain't doing. You ain't getting on your back and doing this full quad stretch. That is hard to do. And we see just a constant forward knee drive. We don't see any kind of back dip, and we see the intensity that he uses, even like on like a leg press. I mean, what's happening here? Like, if you don't know the context of this, you think he's just coming harder than he's ever come in his life. He's just face fucking some girl. He's actually doing leg extensions right here. But that's his O face. It's probably the same one. And yeah, I mean, oh, he's still going. This is a long one. I mean, he did a lot of extreme stuff. He did this like a lot of like in-range isometrics, a lot of force reps. So he trained with a technique that no one else did, and he trained with an intensity that no one else did.
Back in the early 70s, I did stiff-legged deadlifts. After much back problems, I said, that's forget. I think
So never had a knee problem in his life, but as soon as he starts doing stiff-legged deadlifts, fucks up his back. Well, this kind of goes into the archetypes I was talking about. If you're that narrow archetype, which we'll see in a second, Tom definitely was, he was built for squatting. That counternutative start position, that's really beneficial when you're squatting. When you're hinging, that is not as beneficial. Starting from a more ER bias on a hinge with less sacral nutation, that usually means you're going to put more through your back. The wider ISAs are the ones you're going to be able to hinge just naturally more effectively. So it's not really surprising to me that he didn't feel that good doing deadlifts. And I think a lot of people fuck up their squats from their deadlifts. You'll see people deadlift with so much posterior compression, especially if they're going real straight leg, that closing down that outlet makes it harder under load to open it when we're squatting to get that posterior expansion. So he's somebody who didn't really do anything to fuck up his squat pattern. He kept it really the same, didn't vary his stance that much, and he didn't do anything that created excessive compression that was going to limit him from getting such good technique, such good depth on his squats.
it's too risky. I think the stiff-legged deadlifts people do too much risk.
So here you can kind of see what I'm talking about. He was a narrow guy. Look at his little chicken legs when he first started, and that was one of his main critiques as a competitor, is it just wasn't that wide up top. Now his actual workout routine for legs was famously not varied at all. All he did was his sissy hack squats, which we'll cover in a second, squats, leg extensions, and leg curls, and his calves. And that was it. So not somebody who had a ton of movement variety, but that may have allowed him to become really specialized.
When I did 50 reps, at 25, I was done. At 35, I can't believe I did 35. At 45, God was doing it for me. At 50, I was just in a different world.
There ain't nobody else who was doing 50 reps on squats. I know that he would sometimes just set a timer and go for like 3 minutes with like 275, which is insane. So he definitely did some unique things that were different, and he definitely had some unique and different quads.
Recovery. I always believe in training hard, real stupid, brutal hard, and resting.
Yeah, Tom was one of the early heavy duty guys. He has talked about how he did try to train just like Arnold when he moved to California. He was hanging out with him. He did his high volume approach. It just did not work for him at all. So he had a lot more heavy duty approach, a little bit lower volume, but crazy high intensity.
Extremely hard as well. You gotta train hard, you gotta rest hard. I would squat twice a month. At my very best, at my very strongest, that's all I squatted. Imagine doing 50 reps, with 405 pounds. I mean, your nervous system is fried. I'd leave the gym going, maybe in 10 days, I might start thinking about it.
That's another thing to think about that I didn't really consider, is he had trained his nervous system so efficiently to be able to get all the benefits from these squats. Like a lot of you guys, and me included, like I don't really have the nervous system trained to get full benefit. That's why I got to be like totally fatigued when I do squats. If I go fresh, I'm gonna get fatigued before my quads do. It's just my whole system. Like I'm gonna run it out. Like I'm gonna get all shaky. I'm gonna start feeling like all fucked up. Like I might get sick. I think Tom felt that and fucking blew through that and trained his body that hey, this is what's going to fucking happen. So I do think that squats are a very high cost movement for a lot of people. I think hacks are going to be a little bit better for the majority of people.
Squatting again.
Failure. I'm shocked. Most guys will have the win. 15, 20 reps. It's like, oh my God. To me, that's like half a second. I remember doing 50s all the time. It was crazy. I remember laying on the floor going, I feel like somebody was stabbing knives in my quads. I used to lay there, put the towel over my face. People thought I was dying. Go, no, he's okay. Don't worry about him. After about 10 minutes, one more set.
Yeah, it's wild. I'm not fucking doing that. I'm not trying to go to that dark place. So Tom was really known for the way he would do hack squats. He'd do kind of like sissy hacks. And here he breaks down the technique. And I've tried these the way that he recommends them. I just, as I mentioned earlier, when I start to excellent rotate a little bit, like I just start to throw things off. My left femur gets all wonky. So I do like normal sissy squats on the hack with everything lined up forward. But here's how he does it. And if you can do it the way he does and you feel good, I'm sure there's some benefits to it.
This is the perfect movement to do what George Hackenschmidt talked about back in the 30s, I think, the 1930s. Heels are together like a duck. My toes are pointed out. I'm using my edges like the vastus lateralis comes into play when I push and I create tension from the edge of my feet. Not these edges, but these edges.
I think that happens when he's in this kind of hip extension position. I don't think that happens if you're in hip flexion, like a squatting pattern.
As I push up with my toes, my heels drive into the platform. As my heels drive into the platform, I allow the tension to continue up my legs to my buttocks, and I squeeze the buttocks on.
Doesn't he say buttocks so awesomely? Like, it's such like a professional way to say it, I guess. I don't know. All right, so when we think about what was different about Tom Platz, I think that we can come to a few conclusions that may help us understand how he was able to grow such freaky fucking quads. So first off, we gotta think about his technique. That's always gonna be the first thing I look at is biomechanics. And he had insane technique to put tension on his quads while squatting. This is partly because of his structure. It's partly because of the way he was taught from a very young age, is how he developed. I mean, just thinking about the pure amount of hours he put in perfecting this technique. This is a guy who was squatting 3 minutes in a set. I mean, this dude has probably squatted like hundreds of hours in his whole entire life. Like, this was kind of crazy to think about. So he just has like an insane amount of time just of skill acquisition, and he didn't do a lot of other things to change his movement patterns. He pretty much was extremely specialized in squatting. He didn't do deadlifts and because it fucked him up, and that creates a totally different kind of expansion compression than a squat. And when you think about the movements he did do, he only did really 4 movements for his legs, and they really actually complement each other really well. If you think about what's happening during a squat pattern versus what's happening during the sissy squat on the hack squat, really they're complementing each other really well. Because on a squat, you're getting a lot of anterior compression and posterior expansion. On the sissy hack squat, you're doing the exact opposite. You're getting anterior expansion while the posterior remains relatively compressed. So it's like while you're closing everything down on the squat, you're opening everything up on that sissy squat. So you're really able to get a really good balance of expansion and compression of working both sides of the joint, which is going to lead to much more efficient hip flexion, much better squatting. I mean, he had really good mobility, partly because of the range of motion he used during his actual exercises, but also because he put a lot of time into stretching. And I mean, he was just a fucking psycho. He used a level of intensity that most other people aren't going to be able to generate for legs. Maybe for chest, definitely for arms, but it's hard to do that day in, day out for legs. I mean, he used such intensity that is like alarming to watch. I mean, and he was doing crazy stuff. In addition to like drop sets, force reps, he was doing, like I said, ballistic isometrics, different things that I don't think were that common with other people. And he did do like the lengthened training with the sissy squats on the hack squats. So he did a lot of things different. And I think if you take all that into account, it's easy to understand why he had such crazy quads. All right, so I've given you guys the breakdown on how to maximize tension on your quads while preserving your joints. I showed you good examples and bad examples. And then we looked at the king of all quads, Tom Platz, and tried to analyze what makes him special. So if you have any questions, drop them below. I really appreciate the support. Thanks a lot, guys.